We are back and we are live. It is Fight IQ presented by RotoWire. Here to talk UFC Denver. Our main event is the Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung taking on Yair Pantoja Rodríguez. And I don't think that is his nickname, correct? Somebody, I'm having a weird senior moment. It has been
Pantera, I think. Pantera?
Pantoja. I'm thinking of Alexandre Pantoja because I've got this flyweight news stuck in my head.
Pantoja's fighting in a week, isn't he?
I think so. I was watching tape, and I'm pretty sure that's why that popped into my head. Anyway, our main event, Korean Zombie taking on Pantera, Yair Rodríguez. Co-main event is fight I'm most looking forward to, Platinum Mike Perry taking on Donald Cowboy Cerrone here. Fight IQ, if this is your first time watching or listening, first of all, thank you. Here to break down this card from a DraftKings perspective. I am your host of Fight IQ, the Daily Fantasy Sniper. The analysts, we have Joe, Sun Tzu, Chris, who I'm just going to go at Real Chris Olsen because it is his Twitter handle, coming off UFC 230, a really fun card. We're just gonna lead off with it because Chris won't tell us what this is. He has an airing of grievances. What did me and Joe do that got you so fired up? Well, medium fired up because you won't tell us.
Well, I just thought this would be a little more fun. I know it's not Festivus quite yet, but I think an airing is in order. I mean, as you guys all know, and if you don't, last week on the show, I picked Jordan Rinaldi quite convincingly. He had a wonderful performance. He won. And what do I see on Twitter except my two compatriots, my two podcast brethren? Now, I am not like an arrogant guy. I don't mind sharing the spotlight. So you can thank or say good call to whoever you want, but to not even include me. You should not even include me.
Yes, that's right. Sergeant Scorpion.
You should really see. That was Joe. That wasn't me. I wasn't involved in that. I was tagging the post, but I wasn't involved. But
I think both of you. I think I saw both of you.
You really should pump the brakes because we get to talk about Amanda Bobby Cooper on this card. So you really need to watch where you're going.
Do you really want to take issue with the fact that I praised a veteran of our country? A veteran
No. Praise him. Praise me also. That's all. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
In all honesty, Chris, I forgot that you made that call. I would have given you props.
You guys are dead to me. Dead to me.
I totally forgot.
I didn't do anything, but you know what? Yours.
I was distracted by Tommy at the fights, and there
was some good times to be had. Thank you to DraftKings. By the way, I'm gonna take some of the spotlight. I mentioned this on Twitter. You'll notice in the contest pool, now whether this was directly me or not, I don't know, but I'll take credit for it. We're talking to one of the person from DraftKings who puts up contests, and I was in his ear a couple of times, like these $44 GPP it's not good. We all missed the $27 and or the $33. And I mentioned that a couple of times, and look what we have back this week. It is the return. So let's fill it up. Hopefully it sticks around because it's a much, much better contest. Before we dive into the fight card, got a shout out to our sponsor, RotoWire MMA. Go to rotowire.com/free. Check out all the paid content that RotoWire offers, 10 days for free, no credit card required, season-long content for all sports, daily fantasy content for all sports, optimizers, picks, articles, stats, all that great stuff. Make sure and check it out over there. You can follow all of us on Twitter at Real Chris Olsen, at Sun Tzu, at the DFS Sniper with one S. That's enough intro. Let's get to these fights. Marca De La Rosa, 9,000, taking on Joby Sanchez at 7,200. The line on this fight, I wish my best fight odds screen would stop moving around on me. Marca De La Rosa is the favorite, minus 245. Joby Sanchez, the dog, at plus 225. Before we dig into this fight, I said enough of the intro, but I wanted to go back to one more thing. Guys, if you're watching this, we do this live. Type questions. Chat's always open. If you're listening to it after the fact, we usually record these Fridays at 8 o'clock. Tonight it's 8:30. That's actually on me. Just personal stuff I had to bump back. But love the interactive questions. I'm getting some more follows on Twitter and talking about the show. So thanks for all the support. Click the subscribe button. Click the like button. If you listen to it after the fact, go and find RotoWire on YouTube and subscribe up. Now I'm done with the intro. Let's talk about Mark De La Rosa. Look, I think he's a UFC caliber fighter if the UFC was going to keep a 125-pound division. Joby Sanchez, I think, is just below that. I think De La Rosa especially has an advantage on the ground. We saw that in his last fight. I think he's better everywhere. The one concern for DraftKings, and he's my pick, obviously, the one concern is how high is he going to score with some of the other studs around him. So with that in mind, let's kick off the show with Chris. What do you got?
Yeah, I was so excited when we were talking before the show and you told me the picks that everybody was playing, because I've been pretty chalky the last 2 weeks, and I get to be my usual divergent self. I'm picking Joby Sanchez here. I think their striking styles are pretty similar. They both like to blitz forward with strikes, but I think the difference is that Joby Sanchez is going to be quicker, more agile. I also think he's a bit better defensively. He's got good in and out movement, and I know that De La Rosa, you might give him the jiu-jitsu edge. I'm not 100% sure about that. I think maybe they're a little bit more even than people think, but that's not really my main concern. My main concern is the scrambling. Joby Sanchez is very scrambly. We saw De La Rosa get heavily out-scrambled by Tim Elliott in their fight, and I mean literally all fight. So even if De La Rosa can get him to the ground, I'm not so sure he can, keep him there to do what he wants to do. And I think on the feet, as I said, Joby Sanchez is just going to be a tick faster. I think his striking is a bit more solid, a bit more polished. So I'm gonna take Joby Sanchez in a line that I think is pretty far off to start the night.
I think we're near right. I will concede that Joby Sanchez will be the faster fighter. I just think De La Rosa does get him down. It's able to control down there. So that's where we disagree. Joe, break the tie.
Look, I think it's interesting that De La Rosa and his wife actually fight at the same weight. They're both 125ers, Montana De La Rosa. As it's, this whole card, I'm just going to make a statement. This whole card is really weird. There's a lot of Dana White Contender Series alums on this card. There's short notice replacements. It's really crazy, this card. Let's not forget that Sanchez is 1-3 in the UFC. All three of his losses on his record have come in the UFC. In his last fight, he put up a grand total of 1/2 of 1 point. I mean, it should be like the SATs. You get a point for signing your name. He didn't even get a full point. It's hard for me to back a guy like that. I think De La Rosa is better than the other Sanchez that finished this Sanchez in his last fight. So I'm going to go with De La Rosa here to win pretty convincingly.
All right, let's move on to our next fight of the night. We have Eric Shelton taking on Joseph Morales. Shelton, 8,200. Morales, 8,000. Line in this fight is lined like you think it would. Eric Shelton, -115, taking on Morales to come back, +105. Problem with Shelton is he fights close. Every one of his fights is close, split decisions. You could argue he won all of them. You could argue he lost all of them. Fights really close. I think ultimately the advantage in this one is going to be, I think Morales will get takedowns and win rounds that way. I think it goes to a decision and it's tight. Anything could happen in this fight. This is the fight I'm least sure about on the card, as the line would indicate. It just makes me nervous that how close Shelton continually fights. Like I said, I think the takedown event, we've seen Shelton taken down in fights before. I think that's where I'm going to lean the edge for a decision. Give me Joseph Morales, but it's one of my least confident plays, and I don't think you're going to need a ton of this fight either way. Joe?
Yeah, I mean, Morales looked good in his debut. He's a team alpha male guy. They tend to do good in the lighter weights. He got lit up against Figueiredo. I mean, I think I actually may have played him in some DraftKings lineups as a dog, not realizing how good Figueiredo was. He's young. The thing with Shelton is he's Mr. Split Decision. He's good everywhere, but he seems to fight. He seems to fight to his competition. So what does that mean here? Another split decision either way? It's kind of hard to say. The one thing I do agree is that I don't know that you need to have a lot of this fight. Quite frankly, making another general statement, I'm not at all thrilled with the vast majority of the mid-range. I kind of like the upper range, and I like a number of fighters sub 8K, but there's not too many guys I like in the mid range. So
we lost the best mid range fight.
Yeah, I think so too. If we have to pick a winner here, sure, I'll pick Morales, but it's with very low confidence.
Just adding to that, by the way, if we had this 8,300 Benavidez 7,900 Borg fight, I would have had so much Ray Borg, I would have been choking on it.
My initial lineup had Borg in it. The first lineup that I made had Borg in it.
I would have had a ton. But anyway, moving on. What do you have, Chris, on Morales Shelton?
Yeah, I kind of agree with both you guys. I like Eric Shelton. Just to look at him, I think he's a toolsy fighter. I think he's quick. I think he's got kind of sneaky power. He knocked down who was it, Jared Gordon in their fight? Jared Gordon or Jared Brooks, I can never remember. One of the Jareds he knocked down. Brooks it was?
Brooks is the tiny one.
All right. So, he's got some of his own offensive wrestling too. The problem is, like you said, he tends to fight the split decision. And I think the reason for that is he's basically like the ultimate counter striker. He just loves it when his opponents come to him. I think Morales is going to give him some of that fight. And I think he can succeed there just by sort of sliding out of range and hitting counters and maybe going for his own reactive takedowns. I do kind of share your concerns that, he could get trapped on bottom again. We've obviously seen that happen to him. And even if he does win, might not be too convincing, might not be too many points. But as far as the pick goes, I'm going to take Shelton here.
All right, Devonte Smith, 9,100, taking on Julian Juicy J. Erosa, 7,100. Line on this fight is it's pretty wide. I'm stalling for a second. It is minus 215. Not as wide as I thought, actually. Minus 215 for Devonte Smith on 5 dimes. That's the lowest actually out there. Other places, 230, 240, 250. Looking at 5 dimes, he's minus 215. Erosa, the comeback on that site is plus 195. Look, Devonte Smith, you've heard it. If you listen to this, I'm assuming you listen to other breakdown episodes of in MMA. If not, this is the narrative. Devonte Smith, his one loss is to John Gunther, who's also fighting on this card, who may be the worst fighter in the UFC. He lost that fight because he beat the ever-living snot out of Gunther, and Gunther's a punching bag, and Devonte Smith gassed out. Here's my worry with this. Devonte Smith should just roll over Julian Erosa. He's stronger, he's faster, hits harder. It should be a first-round knockout. But here's the concern. Devonte Smith, including the Gunther fight, we've seen gas tank issues. He's taken this fight on 9 days' notice, and it's in Denver. If he doesn't get this out of the first round, or he gets out of the first round, we have some worries here. That's the only worry I see in this fight, but it's a legitimate one and one to point out. Still give me Devonte Smith by first-round knockout. That's the one concern. Chris, what do you have?
Yeah, no, I basically agree. Again, this is getting kind of annoying, but I basically agree.
We'll get there. It's coming.
But you know what?
Yoder's just a few fights away.
Yeah, no, I know. But you know what? This kind of reminds me of is I'm getting flashbacks to Andrew Sanchez and Ryan James, where Andrew Sanchez just beat the crap out of him for about a round, and then just got tired, and James took over. Julian Erosa just stands straight up, wants you to brawl with him, isn't very quick. Devonte's going to be the much faster fighter. He's got some power as well. And Erosa's a tough dude. He got knocked out in the UFC by Teruto Ishihara on a counter punch that I don't think he saw, which, as they say, is the one that gets you. And, like I said, I basically agree with you. I don't think there's too much more to say. Erosa could use some wrestling. We've seen him, catch kicks and convert takedowns that way. But I'm gonna have to pick Devonte here just because I can't trust Erosa to keep himself safe enough. But if we see gas tank issues at altitude, then Erosa could definitely stick around for the win.
Joe?
Yeah, I mean, not another fight that I don't exactly love. In addition to being knocked out by Ishitar. I believe he also lost to Artem Lobov. That's one of Lobov's 12 wins.
Well, no, that was
that was an exhibition.
House?
Oh yeah, okay.
That was the Fighter House, wasn't it?
That didn't count. Okay, well it counts, but it doesn't count.
How dare you disrespect the GOAT?
He still lost. He still lost. Anyway, he should be able to fight at range, but he doesn't. I mean, he's got a height and reach advantage over almost everybody he fights. Hard for me to get too excited about a guy that was finished by John Gunther, although he did gas in that fight. And the same thing can happen here. If Juicy J is smart about it, he'll stay on the engine for the first round. Let Devonte Smith get tired, and then try to make something happen in the second and perhaps third round. I don't know if he's got that type of fight IQ. So I guess I'll go with Devonte Smith, but probably my least favorite play in the upper range.
It's interesting just because with the potential for a first-round knockout, I think he's one of my favorite GPP plays. Just because he's got the 100 to 110 point ceiling, I think is
high ceiling, low floor.
Pretty clearly there, yeah. So I think I like him a little bit more. Just I don't like Juicy J at all. But somebody I love, and everyone should love, is Davi Ramos, 9,500, taking on the aforementioned John Gunther at 6,700. This line is, I'm going to find the most outrageous one. Let's see.
Yeah,
on one book, he's minus 1111.
Yeah.
5 dimes, minus 935. The comeback on Gunther is anywhere between 600 and 750, depending where you look. And you can get Davi Ramos as a steal at minus 833 in this one book I'm looking at.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, John Gunther grapples relentlessly, but he's not great at it. He leaves his neck out. He can be... Davi Ramos is a ridiculous BJJ practitioner. Go rewatch the back take he had against Nick Hine. It is slick. It is a thing of beauty to watch. If you like grappling, he's stronger. He's shredded. He's one of my favorite fighters coming up in that division. I think the guy has a really high ceiling, and he is doing the UFC a favor in taking this fight. He made his UFC debut against Sergio Moraes, up a weight class, and that fight went to a decision, and that was one of those two grapplers kind of canceled each other out. They were on the feet. Sub Chris Gritzmacher, sub Nick Hine. He should sub John Gunther here. Give me Davi Ramos. Give me a lot of Davi Ramos. He is going to be the highest owned fighter on the card, at least in cash games, if you can slam him in there. I don't think there's even too much more to say, but Chris, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I've been thinking because we've been doing this show for a while, and we've all obviously been playing DraftKings before that, betting, doing whatever. I think this is the fight that I most closely give 0% ever to one of the fighters in the fight. I just don't see how Gunther can ever win. I mean, as because you alluded to it in the Devonte Smith fight. Gunther's strategy is basically, you can hit me with whatever you want. I'm tough enough to take it, and I'm just going to walk through and take you down. Okay, now even if that could work here, Ramos throws huge right hands, and Gunther's probably going to walk into him. But even if that could work here, what's he going to do? Take down Davi Ramos? Okay, then what? Is he gonna out grapple Davi Ramos? I very, very much doubt that. So, and he doesn't hit very hard on the feet. So I really don't even see a path for him here. I really don't even see. I mean, he's a tough dude. We're in Denver. Ramos is muscly, all that stuff.
That's the path. That's the path, is that he survives the onslaught. Ramos gasses.
Yeah.
And we're all sitting around going, what in the hell is happening? John Gunther's on top of Davi Ramos for a round and a half.
Right.
That's the path. But if that happens, just someone come check on me, because I'm probably dead.
As I'm saying it, yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, like, if this was a fight anywhere else in the world that wasn't like, Mexico City or someplace, I like, if this was a regular altitude fight, sea level fight, it's going to be Ramos all day, and it's got to be Ramos anyway, because I mean, although that has a chance of happening, you can't bank on that. Maybe if you're making a bunch of lineups, like if you're making 50 lineups, like 2 of them can be Gunther for that reason. But otherwise, yeah, this is just Ramos all day, and there's not much else to really say.
Joe?
Wow. So interesting stat on John Gunther. He is 1,000-0 wrestling llamas. So that is an interesting John Gunther stat.
I'm sure one llama has won.
I kind of believe him. The other thing about John Gunther is when his teammates asked him who he was fighting and he said Davi Ramos, they all said, uh-oh. So I don't think his own teammates think he's got a chance of winning here. I don't know that there's a lot more to say. The whole altitude argument, I mean, we've seen some strange things happen, but I have to believe that, Ramos used to be purely a jiu-jitsu guy, and he's much more of a complete fighter now. I don't see how you can't pick Ramos. The only thing to be concerned about, perhaps, is Gunther is a tough guy, and if he doesn't get a first-round finish, you better hope that you get some grappling points so he earns his 9.5K salary. That's the only real way to look at this fight from a DraftKings perspective is, are you going to get 12X if this goes to round 2? I mean, and that's what you're probably going to need on this wackadoo card. You're going to need 12X to win a GPP. So, okay.
Yes, somebody's saying, don't like how much she should destroy Gunther too quickly. Yeah, but it'll be grappling based. I get what you're saying for GPP, but I'll take it in cash.
And I mean, he can get a knockdown or two in there too. I mean, Gunther he really just lets himself get hit, and Ramos throws very hard.
And I can see if you want to. I mean, in GPPs, I mean, anything goes. If you want to fade him because he's going to be so heavily owned, hopefully he only scores 90. Go for it. KD in first round finish, that's 100 plus whatever strikes is 102. We're signing somebody in chat. That's 10.5x cash games take at GPP. Depends on the card. Probably not enough to get it done, but he needs a knockdown and a takedown. Now you're at 105, 110 quick. So it kind of depends. For me, I'm more of a cash player, so give me the floor. All right, we spend way too much time talking about that friggin' fight. Like, way too much. Oh, let's get to some chalk here. Chas Skelly, 8,400. We got a few chalk fights coming up.
This is not chalk. This is
No.
This is line value right here.
Not the fight I was thinking of, though.
Oh.
Where is? Yeah, sorry, I misread Bobby Moffett as Moisés. We'll get to Moisés later, guys. Sorry, threw myself off. Chas Skelly, 8,400, taking on Bobby Moffett at 7,800. The line on this fight, there is line value, -110. We have a couple line value spots in this card. -110 for Bobby Moffett, Chas Skelly +100. This fight is interesting because I think these two guys are incredibly similar. Not great striking, good grappling. Skelly's the better wrestler. Moffett's the better BJJ practitioner. Moffett is younger, UFC debut. Skelly, veteran, lost to Jason Knight last time out, not great. Wins before that, Chris Gritzmacher, Maximo Blanco, also a little suspect. Going through his UFC career, not a ton of great wins on there. Jim Ehlers. Ultimately, though, like I said, they're similar. The way I get why Bobby Moffett's the favorite in a pick'em scenario, which is basically is. Chas Skelly, to me, I always lean towards the better wrestler. I think he'll be able to control it a little better and stay out of subs. That's why I like Chas Skelly here to win a close decision. But we have to talk about for DraftKings. The line values on Bobby Moffett. It's going to be popular in cash. Let me just double check. Yeah, Chas Skelly's never been submitted in the UFC. Might not have ever been submitted in his career. Actually, he's never been submitted in his career. On the ground, I like to control a little better. Give me Chas Skelly. I'm not sure he's going to score incredibly well. Skelly's the pick here. I don't know if I'm going to have a ton of him. I don't like the mid-range a ton. And for the line value, I have to consider Moffett in cash, even if he's not my pick to win for $600 cheaper. Joe, what do you got?
Yeah. One thing about Moffett is MMA Lab. That has been a gym that's been on an incredible roll lately. He is an MMA Lab guy, younger. I don't know if Chas Skelly has plateaued. I mean, his wins aren't super impressive. I remember him just getting brutalized by Darren Elkins. He's 33 years old. Team Elevation, not Team Elevation, Team Takedown. Not a bad team, but I just, it's one of those fights where I don't see a finish necessarily, so I don't know what kind of score you're going to get out of the fight. I definitely think Moffett is a cash play. At his salary range, yeah. I guess it depends on who else, how you can structure your lineup. There's another fighter in the main event who I like that's fairly close in price that I think has a higher upside. If you do need 7K guys, then I could see using Moffett in a GPP. However, I'm going to pick Moffett to win here. I'm going to just pick the upset. Not a super high level of confidence, though.
Technically, it's not an upset. Technically, you're on the favorite, the line
value.
Well,
DraftKings upset. Yeah. DraftKings upset.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah, I think these guys are pretty similar. The only thing that really stood out to me is that I'm blanking on the name. What's the name?
Moffett?
Skelly.
Skelly. Is that Skelly? I always do that. I don't know why. Is that Skelly is the more aggressive striker, and I think that might be enough here.
Could be.
I ordinarily wouldn't like Chaz Skelly as a striker. I think against a guy with quick hands and who's got educated fists, he's open to be countered. But Moffett just hangs back a little too much for me, and I think Chaz Skelly is going to take the fight to him. And he's aggressive. He's going to be in his face. I think he can get takedowns off of that very easily. And I think that could actually lead to kind of a high score if, we get some mat returns in there and whatnot. I like Chaz Skelly's BJJ too. I wouldn't sleep on it. You mentioned the Maximo Blanco. We all remember that crazy that anaconda choke finish that happened in like 20 seconds. So I think he's pretty, he can take care of himself in the jiu-jitsu department. As I said, I like him to be the fighter going forward, to push the action. I think he can build a game off of that can really stifle Moffett. So I'm going with Chaz Skelly here.
God, me and Chris actually agree going against odds value. Weird. That's good. Amanda Bobby Cooper.
Here we go.
600. Chris's girl, the one who was going to dethrone Mackenzie Dern.
She got thrown? Holy crap! That was
no. You said she was going to dethrone. Dethrone.
No, Chris was thinking deflower, but he said dethrone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Taking on Ashley Yoder at 8,600. The line on this fight: Yoder's the favorite at -145. Amanda Bobby Cooper +135. Before you bet on this fight, by the way, and I love trashing Amanda Bobby Cooper, I'm going to some more in a second. Just remember, Ashley Yoder is 0-3 in the UFC, and Amanda Bobby Cooper is 2-3, but her wins are over Anna Elmos and Angela Magana. So I'm going to put those two together to form one win, and she's 1-3 in the UFC, and I think that's way more fair. That being said, Amanda Bobby Cooper has lost to legit competition: Mackenzie Dern, Cynthia Calvillo, Tatiana Suarez. You could argue that all three of those are going to be title challengers at some point in their career. Ashley Yoder lost Justine Kish, Mackenzie Dern as well, Angela Hill, also good competition. So what have I seen in those fights? Yoder, just to me, looks like the better fighter. She dropped Dern. She had a knockdown in Dern in that fight. Remember, Dern knocked down ABC Cooper. I think she can grapple a little bit. I think she'll have the grappling advantage for sure over ABC Cooper. I think she's a smarter fighter. I like her to be more active. I'm not in love with their price at 8,600. Not sure how much you can really invest in her at 8,600. I think it's I can't even say a high floor. I like her to win, but it's a medium floor, low ceiling type of pick for me. So give me Ashley Yoder, and no way I'm playing ABC Cooper. No shot. Chris, how about your girl?
Well, I'm ready to take a chance again. Okay.
Losing subscribers. Everyone's tuning out.
Okay. Well, I'm picking an Ashley as well. But look, the thing about Ashley Yoder is she is so robotic and stiff and a mechanical striker. Whatever you want to say about Amanda Bobby Cooper, it looks like that she's somebody who's been striking for a long time. She's light on her feet. She's got a good judge of distance, and she can throw in combination. And as far as, the Mackenzie Dern fight, knocking her down, doing okay in that fight, that's because a lot of that fight took place in the clinch, because that's where Mackenzie Dern wanted it. I fully concede that I think Yoder would be stronger in the clinch, but I also don't think that Amanda Bobby Cooper, I called her Ashley before, so my joke didn't work, but whatever. I also think that Amanda Bobby Cooper isn't, I don't think she's hopeless on the ground. She looked good floating on top of Angela Magana. I get it. But
that's like mounting one of us.
There's a lot of people that look good floating on top of Angela Magana.
All right, so let me give you something else that I think it would be more. She was creating scrambles in that Cynthia Calvillo fight. She was able to get herself back to her feet. She mistakenly went for a takedown and got reversed. That was not smart, but I don't think she's completely dead on the ground. And I think that I think she's going to be a significantly better striker here. I've said that before. Famous last words, they were. But first of all, nobody predicted that, so I don't want to hear it. And I have to go with what I see. I don't love it, but look, everybody's going to be down on her. The whole world is, and I think she's got some legitimate advantages here.
You just can't leave me with those kind of openings, Chris.
Okay. I guess you guys can do it at your peril, but I'm
not. She's too expensive, but she's the pick, and there are better dogs in my. If we didn't have Moffett, Moisés, Rocky, who we're going to talk about, Yair in that range, maybe. Okay. We have lots of live dogs.
Let me go here. So Chris's, irrespective of Chris's take about going down, Yoder and Yoder, ABC is a match made in heaven for Yoder. I mean, if this was like a Tinder date, ABC would be her dream girl, because what does ABC like? She loves to be taken down. What does Yoder like to do? Take people down. So Team Quest, Ashley Yoder, good team out in San Diego. That's Dan Hendo's team, Alvy, a whole bunch of other people. I do agree though with Sean that this is a better fight probably to bet, although she might get some sneaky grappling points. I posted a parlay, a three-fighter parlay that I did yesterday. This is the first fight on my parlay. It's Ashley Yoder. All she has to do is win for the first leg of the parlay. No props, but I do like Yoder here a fair amount. I think she could be a sneaky play simply because she could get grappling points, and we all know how much ABC loves to give up grappling points. I don't see a lot of value in playing ABC, even as a punt. But I have a strong feeling about Yoder in this fight, and I would not recommend, going too much out on ABC.
You guys realize, and I have to let the audience know, because your biases are crazy. So I have to let the audience know.
What biases?
I have to let the audience know. You realize that Cynthia Calvillo had the gator roll up her back to take her back in order to get that sub, right? You think Ashley Yoder's doing that?
And how easy was it for her to do that?
How easy? How many times you've ever seen it in your life? How easy was it?
But the idea that she let that happen. Come on. She's got no defense. She's got no defense.
Plebs, guys.
By the way, one other point I wanted to make.
All around me.
First of all, I didn't realize how hot Ashley Yoder was. Secondly, and more seriously, I watched the weigh-ins, and Cooper, she actually came from the sauna, to the weigh-ins. Her top was wet. I don't know if she had the best cut. So just take that for what it's worth. We're going to talk about someone who had a much.
Serious.
We're gonna talk about someone who had a much worse cut in a few minutes, but Yoder looked good. Made weight. I think this is going to be pretty easy for her.
All right, let's move on. Luis Peña, 9,300, taking on Mike Trizano at 6,900. We have some odds value brewing here. Line hasn't flipped, but it is getting towards pick'em. Peña now, as I said, 9,300 minus 160. Trizano 6,900 plus 150. So there's your odds value in terms of a punt. Peña coming off a win over Richie Smullen, which might be like a win over Angel Magana. It barely counts. But he looked really good in that win. Saw him in the Ultimate Fighter show. I think the line is closer to right now than it was. I think it might have actually gone too far. I think I said on a podcast I would have pegged Peña around minus 180 when we first started. We've gone past that now. Look, he's flashier. He's a really talented prospect. He's long. He's huge for the division. It's one of those you're not totally stunned anymore, but you're surprised he can make the weight. Going to have a size advantage. Uses his length well. I think he's a better striker. Trizano is good everywhere. I'm interested to see what kind of game plan Trizano is going to come out with. Either way, I think Peña is going to be a little bit too much. I'm just not sure he gets a finish here at 9,300. I think Peña is a little overpriced, and I think people are really going to like that shtick and roster him. I think he's going to go a little overowned, even with the odds value. So Peña is the pick, but at 9,300, give me Davi Ramos, give me Maycee Barber, who we're going to talk about next. Even give me who's right under. Give me Devonte Smith before I play Luis Peña. So that's just my take on it, but I am picking him to win. I think he's valuable for those reasons. Start with Joe for this one.
So, bit of a backstory. I actually picked Mike Trizano as a dark horse to win tough before the season actually started. Once I saw the roster, he's a Tiger Schulman guy. He lives one town over from where I live. With that said, Peña is the second leg of my three-fighter parlay. I don't understand the line movement. I guess I understand it could have been a relatively small bet on the open that caused the line to move. I'm not sure why it hasn't tightened back up again. I don't know if somebody might know something. It's very curious to me. I'm trying to figure it out. Although we did
That's what I'm worried about, by the way. So I'm worried somebody knows about an injury we don't know about.
We did see a massive line swing to Derek Lewis last fight, and it obviously didn't mean all that much. So I'm not sure what to make of it.
Well, let me just jump in real quick. Sorry, it turned out that DC had thrown his back out, and I guess somebody knew that. DC had thrown his back out earlier in the day.
DC had multiple injuries. Really, was that it? Because he had a hand injury.
Apparently, the fight was almost called off the morning of.
Really?
Apparently, he sneezed in the morning and threw his back out.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Because he's 40.
Apparently, he's a 75-year-old man.
Wow.
My brother.
Okay.
Sorry, man.
Okay. So again, I don't get it. Like Sean said, Trizano is good in a lot of areas, but I haven't seen anything to indicate he's spectacular anywhere. So this could be an interesting fight. I wouldn't say don't have a few shares of Trizano at his price if you're playing mass entry GPPs. But I am going to pick. It was a pretty grindy fight against Giannetti. I was at that fight. Kind of cheering him on. It was I think he scored 57 points in the win. So the ceiling is not going to be super high. I don't see him finishing him, Trizano. So I don't know that his ceiling is that high. I don't even know if his floor is that high because he could certainly get knocked out. But I think I like Peña a bit more than Devonte Smith. Quite a bit more, actually. So Peña is the second leg of my parlay, and I am picking him to win.
Chris?
So in going back and watching tape, I mean, I obviously picked Peña against Smullins because as a general rule, basically anytime an SPG fighter is fighting who's not named Conor McGregor, I'd pick against him. It seems to work out. So I picked Peña in that fight, but going back and watching tape, I don't think that I like Peña all that much as a fighter. One of the things that I noticed right away that happens in basically all his fight is that he's got real tall man defense. And what I mean by that is he moves his head back and he doesn't take his body with him. So he tends to get tagged up by overhand rights and overhands in general pretty regularly. He does fight long, but he also has a tendency to throw jumping knees and some silly stuff in close range for his opponents. That's actually how Smollins took him down in the fight, and he's done that in other fights as well. I do like that he throws in combinations. I like his kicking game, but I think Trizano's got a good kicking game of his own, and I think it's sharp. And I think what's really gonna be interesting to me in this fight is who wins the pressure war, because both of these guys like to pressure forward. I think it's going to be imperative that Trizano wins it and takes away all that length and all that reach. But I'm not 100% sure that Peña isn't the better fighter. Quite honestly, I just think the line is really off, and the DraftKings price is really off because of what Sean alluded to about violent Barbaros, and he's a character and everybody loves him now. Plus he got a nice win. But yeah, I look at that price at what was it, 6,900?
Yep.
And I consider this fight far closer than that. So I'm gonna be on Trizano here a fair bit.
Cool.
All right, moving on. Maycee Barber, 9,400, taking on Hannah Cifers at 6,800. Line on this fight: Barber minus 395, Hannah Cifers plus 350. Both making their UFC debut. I believe Cifers coming in on short notice. Maycee Barber looks to be legit. She is young. She's 20 years old. Impressive win in the White Tuesday Night Contender Series. Wins in LFA. She's always a big favorite in those fights, but gets the job done. She can grapple. She's going to have a decided grappling advantage in this fight. Should she go there, she should take her down, ground and pound her out of there, and actually get a finish on the women's side. The one thing I'll say about Hannah Cifers, while both of them honestly have been crushing the worst cans of the two, looks like she has power, but again, she's hitting bums, so it's hard to really judge, but she throws hard. I will steal some of Joe's thunder. If you want to see someone who looks like they're going to shit their pants during a stare down, go watch the stare down between Maycee Barber and Hannah Cifers. I don't know if she knew where she was. It was bizarre. Like, she couldn't care less and was terrified. So, yeah, give me Maycee Barber. I also think everyone's going to be picking up for Davi Ramos. I think Barber is just as safe, probably a little bit lower of a ceiling, but an interesting GPP pivot because it's going to be hard to roster both of them. So give me Maycee Barber pretty decisively here. Chris?
Yeah, this is kind of a weird fight for me. First of all, Barber's opponent, Cifers. She, if you want to look at her fights, you can go on YouTube, and it looks like they were all posted on an MMA subreddit with a handy cam, and then somebody ported them over to YouTube because there's commentary of what looks like or sounds like either like a younger sister or somebody, and all of them basically screaming, "Let's go, let's go," which is enthralling. It's better than Mike Goldberg. So,
easy now.
I was waiting for somebody to catch that. I agree with Sean, although I mean he said it, but he kind of I would say emphatically that I think she does have power. I mean, I agree that they're cans, but I mean we've seen people hit cans, and if they don't have power, they don't go down. So I would think she at least has some power. I also agree. I
don't know, because if you or anyone else were to throw a jab, you'd look like Mike Perry hitting me. Like, I would, like, no thanks.
I hear you, but the other thing to point out is, like, she catches her opponents doing like one girl literally threw a hook that missed by like 2 inches, and then she threw the counter shot. So obviously Maycee Barber is the much more technical striker. The problem I'm having here with saying Maycee Barber all the way is that she sticks her chin out so high. She gets tagged. She got tagged by I forget the name, unfortunately, of the woman in her Contender Series fight, but she got tagged up by her a couple times. She doesn't have any head movement. She stands up way tall, and if Cifers has power, that's got to be a concern. I think obviously Barber's the more polished striker. I like her kicking game. I like her grappling technically, but I'm not 100% sure that she'll be the stronger, like physically stronger person here inside the clinch and stuff. Again, I was watching fights on a blurry like handy cam, but it seems like what Cifers likes to do is sort of attrit the gas tank and sort of make it an ugly fight. And and like you said again, Sean, 20 years old, so can she deal? We're at a weird stage in that of like, what can you deal with? Like every fight of hers going forward, even if you're like, okay, well, she's got a lot of skills over this person, she's still going to have to deal with something new pretty much every time out. And it's going to be interesting to see. The pick is Barber for the reasons I mentioned, but I wouldn't just close my eyes and pick it. I'll tell you that much.
Joe?
Yeah, so we got the female Rory McDonald in Barber. Someone training MMA. On paper, anyway, this is a fight that the UFC wants her to win. It's relatively a local fight for her. This person, Cifers, was not, on the UFC's radar. They kind of just brought her in for this fight. I thought the same as Sean relative to how she looked at weigh-ins and on the stare down, and apparently in the media scrum. I have since had some people reach out to me and say, no, I've trained with her. That is just her personality. She doesn't talk much. She really doesn't have any fear. She will, as you could see in the ceremonial stare down, she will be at a size disadvantage, Cifers. With that said, she really doesn't have a whole lot to lose here. She really is being brought in to lose. This is a showcase fight for Barber. And let's not forget that it took her to the third round to get that win. Not too many fighters that went into the third round on Dana White Contender Series got contracts. So it did take her to the third round to finish that fight. So with all that said, I would be less surprised here by Cifers doing well versus, say, Gunther against Ramos. I am going to pick Barber to win just because I think it's one of those setup fights that the UFC has got someone they want to market, very young, not as good looking as, say, Paige Van Zandt, but, a marketable fighter. So I will pick Barber.
All right, next up we have Beneil Dariush, 8,700, taking on, I always forget his first name. It is Thiago Moisés, 7,500. Well, welcome to line value, the biggest line value on the card. No, it's actually changed a little bit. This line's going all over the dang place. So Thiago Moisés opened up at plus 150. And I was thinking of when I recorded my podcast 2 days ago, he was down to plus 120, and I thought it was going to keep going that way. It's back up to plus 135. Beneil Dariush is the favorite, minus 145. Moisés, I believe he's also 20 years old. Saw a picture of him during his media obligations. Dude looks shredded. I always feel so creepy saying it, but he's really growing into his body, like like Jake Matthews. You're just getting older and bigger. He's in an age where you grow quick. Beneil Dariush is on a 3-fight winless streak, 0-2-1. Edson Barbosa winning that fight till he got viciously knocked out. Evan Dunham won the first round, decisively lost the next two, and then was thunderstruck by Alex Hernandez. Moisés has some good BJJ. There's video of a helicopter armbar he hit out there. Ultimately, Dariush is the better fighter who should win. He's also a BJJ black belt. But the question is, how shot is Beneil Dariush? I'm going to pick him here because I do think he's a better overall fighter, but I don't know how much money I can invest in him. And I'm kind of glad the odds value is opened up on Bobby Moffett so I can get away from Thiago Moisés. But Yeah, give me Beneil Dariush. I think he's a little better everywhere. The experience carries him through. But if he turns out he's shot, I am 0% surprised. Who we starting with for this one? Chris.
Me.
Oh,
No,
Joe?
me.
I think it's Joe. I think it's Joe.
Sorry, Joe, you're up.
So, first of all, he's 23,
Okay.
and when he was 20 years old, he actually lost to Jason Knight. When he was 20 years old, which I guess you could forgive a 20-year-old for losing to Jason Knight. Benny has got to win this fight. I mean, Benny was a top 3, a top 3 fighter in arguably the best division in the UFC a few short years ago. He's only 29 years old. I actually picked Benny to beat Vic in that fight, and that was, I think, the last fight he won. The split decision against Dunham was not a good look for him. Benny is such a good ground fighter that I don't know if he maybe fell in love with his hands a little too much. He did have one good round against Barbosa. Benny has got to decide whether he wants to be a fighter, and that's always seemed to be the issue with him. He's got like opening a gym, and he's doing this and he's doing that, and he's talking about coaching. If he still wants to be a fighter and still wants to make a run at 155, he's only 29 years old and he's got a lot of skill. So I'm going to say that this is a fight that Benny is going to win, that he should be able to win relatively easy. Would I be surprised if he didn't? No, because we've seen it in the past, his lack of focus. But I am going to give Benny one more chance to be a fighter here and to just show this kid how much better he is everywhere. So my pick is Beneil Dariush by finish.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page. And I will say, I think that most people are going to be on the side of Moisés. They see the shot fighter. I at least that's what I've seen around. I'm actually thinking Moisés is going to carry some ownership here.
Probably.
Chris, are you with the people, or are you gonna stick to your outcast roots and join us over here picking Beneil Dariush?
No, I'm a man of the people, Sean.
Of course you're taking the dog here. Oh, of course.
I think look, I don't think they're doing Beneil Dariush any favors with these two guys. You want to say that he should have beat Alex Hernandez because he's the veteran, fine. But I think both of these guys are really sharp as far as prospects go.
Come on, let's talk about what happened with Hernandez, though. Dariush, now, granted, you should be ready at all times as a fighter. He thought they were going to touch gloves.
I know.
But that was a little crazy. I'm not
get finished until like a minute and a half later. So that didn't have that much to do with it.
Yeah, I think it did.
Well, all right. Well, in any case, I think Dariush's problem. I think either Sean or one of you touched on it. I wasn't really listening. He tends to fall in love with his striking. I think his hands are just really slow. Especially he throws really slow looping overhands, and that's what Alex Hernandez just murders him with that counter and just knocks him out. I think Moisés has some fast hands. He's sort of a burst fighter. So a bit like a not skill wise, of course, but a bit like a Yoel Romero or something. He tends to just sort of shotgun punch combinations, and then he'll take a rest. He's got a good kicking game as well. You mentioned he's got a good BJJ background. He's got some subs on his record. I think Dariush is going to have to win the pressure battle here, because if he lets that's how Moisés led to the loss of the last fight he lost against a gentleman whose name I cannot remember. But I really think that he's got to take Moisés' weapons away here. If he allows himself to get stormed on again, he's going to get overwhelmed again, I think. But if he keeps his forward pressure, I think he's got a chance to win. If he relies on his wrestling, we'll see what Moisés' bottom game looks like. But overall, he just looks so slick to me, and he looks like the faster guy, probably the more powerful guy, so I'm going to go with Moisés.
All right, Germaine Randamie, 8,800. Raquel Pennington, 7,400. Odds on this fight, Pennington dog, plus 175. Randamie the favorite, minus 190. I've been saying it on Twitter. I'll say it again. I would rather trust my 1-year-old daughter with Mike Perry for the day than risk my money on Germaine Randamie. That's just how it is. Even if you think she's going to win this fight, she scores trash on DraftKings, especially at 8,800. Holly Holm, 5 rounds, 70 points. Anna Elmos, it's Anna Elmos. Pacheco, a second-round knockout, still just scored 85. Not a lot of volume. Rocky hits a path to victory in the grappling. I know people saw Rocky want to quit between rounds 4 and 5 in a title fight. I get it. She did take down Nunes, was just ultimately beat up in that fight. She also doesn't score great in her wins in the mid-60s, but she's 7,400. I think she has a path here. The concern, which Joe will touch on, is this ridiculous weight cut she went through. She did miss weight. She looked terrible. Short notice. Is a hometown fight? Is it elevation? I need some dogs. Give me Raquel Pennington. I see a clear path to victory here. I'm not going to give up on her quite yet. And like I said, Germaine Randamie is a fighter I have no interest in ever risking money on. Chris.
Yeah, my path for her isn't all that clear. Although I agree that Randamie is probably not good for DraftKings. I just think like her understanding of range is so good that Rocky's not going to really hit her with any strikes. I could see her falling short a lot and getting countered. The one thing Randamie has going for her is she's got vicious counter striking. We saw a little of that in the home fight. The wrestling obviously plays, and we'll have to see what kind of work she's been doing there. The one thing that you have to mention, and this is in conjunction with the bad weight cut. I mean, so not only does she have a bad weight cut and we're in Denver, but now we're asking her to wrestle her way to victory in Denver. That could have tried her gas tank pretty quickly, I think. So, it's just tough for me to pick a fighter coming in on some adversity already, who I think in the primary mode doesn't have the advantage by a long shot. Isn't really the best wrestler you've ever seen. I mean, yeah, she hits some nice reactives. Most of her doubles come against the cage. And you have to at least consider the possibility that Randamie has the footwork to get away. I'm going to pick Randamie here just because I think this is a pretty secure spot for her. But as you guys are so fond of saying, I think this is a better line of bet than it is to play on DraftKings.
Joe?
Yeah, I'm so disappointed here. Because I really, really, really liked Rocky at 7.4K. I mean, this was going to be a big investment for me. And thankfully, well, not thankfully, I got sick, so I really haven't made any lineups yet. But I was so looking at using Pennington in so many different lineups. And then I see her walk out, during the weigh-in with her shirt on, looking so drawn out. And then they have to put the little hoopty thing around her. And she's so wasted that even when she was 2 pounds over with that hoopty thing on her, she didn't even bother to get back dressed. They just walked her out with the hoopty thing on. And later, I guess she said it was some type of thyroid issue. But there was so many great narratives. One, she's been an active fighter. She's fought a higher level of competition. She trains in Colorado and lives in Colorado. So the gas tank should be much better than Randamie. Randamie trains in a place that's flatter than a pre-boob job Payne Van Zandt, Holland. I mean, Jesus, there's no place flatter than Holland, right? So, I mean, come on, seriously, right? So she should have had the gas tank issue, the activity issue, the competition issue. Everything should have been working in her favor, and then I see this weight cut. So I'm down. I mean, and then of course Randamie comes out, at 135 after having fought at 145, looking friggin' great. Bouncing off the scales. So that really, really worries me. I will probably still have a few shares of Pennington. It's really hard for me to pick her to win though after how bad she looked. I hate this. I'm gonna have to pick GDR to win, even though I don't want to. I am probably not going to have much of her on DraftKings. I probably will have more Pennington just simply for the price, but I really, really wanted to pick Rocky to win here. It's just hard for me to do it as bad as she looked for that weight cut.
I will say, and I think just to be as fair as we can, I think it bears noting that, bad weight cuts aren't everything. Remember the bad weight cut Aspen Ladd had, and she came out and looked great and finished what's her face. So
no, look, there's been a good record of fighters missing weight, but I mean, I usually want to see people like Mackenzie Dern who misses weight and then goes to the buffet. I mean, those are the kind of people I want to see miss weight,
I
get it. All right, moving on. Mike Perry, 8,900, taking on Donald Cowboy Cerrone, 7,300. Perry, the favorite in this one, minus 185. Come back on Cerrone, plus 170. Cerrone says he's going to want to wrestle, or it says he's going to stand and trade with Perry. Perry says that's not true. Cerrone's going to try and wrestle. I tend to think they're actually going to stand and trade. We got a lot of bad blood here. The camp split of Jack Winklejohn. I like Mike Perry. I think Cerrone's on the downswing here. He also, narrative-wise, does badly when people are mean to him. So take that for what it is.
True.
Ultimately, at the end of his career here, I think Perry finds something. Perry is tough. I think even if Cerrone gets him down, I think Perry will be able to get back up. Either way, I see this fight ending inside the distance, so it's a good GPP fight to target. Give me Mike Perry by knockout. Joe, what do you got?
So, Perry's going to be the bigger fighter, the stronger fighter. The one advantage, and you had a good point. I was going to make it, but you already made it. Cerrone seems to win, at least at this stage in his career, he seems to win those fights where guys are kind of like buddy-buddy with him, like happy to be in the ring. Like going back to even Cowboy Oliveira, like I can't imagine that, Cerrone now would last around with Cowboy Oliveira in his, in his present state. But, all these guys who are buddy-buddy with him tends to do okay with. I think Perry will blitz him. However, the one advantage that Cerrone has, and look, I mean, I think a popsicle would have this advantage over Mike Perry, is fight IQ. Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, let's be real about this, okay? So can Cerrone perhaps try to? I honestly think though Cerrone would have to probably choke him unconscious or break something, because I can't imagine that Perry would tap out to something, as simple as an armbar or a choke. So that's the chance I give Cerrone, is that I would be shocked if he could win this striking, but if he could somehow get him in a compromising position on the ground at 7.3K, which is why I would probably have a few shares of Cerrone here, but I'm going to pick Perry to win.
Chris?
Yeah, I forget what was going on with Cerrone prior to his last fight. He had the flu or something all day. He said they almost didn't fight. There was something wrong with Cowboy before the Leon Edwards fight. I seem to remember that, and I think that if I am correct, and I think that I am, that he had the flu. Maybe we didn't see the best Cerrone, because I think this Cerrone that we saw in the Yancy Medeiros fight is actually a decent template.
Buddy, kissing his grandmother. I mean,
no,
Jesus,
but that's,
come on.
But I thought you were calling me buddy. No.
He was. Okay. Medeiros was buddy.
No, I know, but I think there's a good template. I mean, more so the buddy thing. I think from a technical perspective, Cerrone, falls down against guys who pressure him, right? But I think we saw in that Medeiros fight, we saw a little bit more of Medeiros is sort of a guy. He keeps his head on the center line. He moves in straight, and we actually saw some decent counter striking from Cerrone there. At multiple points in that fight, he would take his head off center, and he would pop Medeiros, and he knocked him down twice doing that exact thing. I think Mike Perry, camp change and all, I know he's supposed to be a smarter more game plan oriented fighter now, since now he's a Jackson Wink. I think that Mike Perry is going to end up doing Mike Perry things. I think he's going to walk in on straight lines, and I think that if Cerrone is in good health, which we don't have any reason to believe he's not, I think he can catch him and tag him up there too. Don't forget too, obviously I think Joban has better footwork, but don't forget too that Perry's first loss came against the Muay Thai striker because he couldn't handle the kicks. And we all know how dangerous and vicious Cerrone's kicks are. So
who hits harder, Chris? Who hits harder, Mike Perry or Masvidal?
Probably Mike Perry probably hits harder than most guys in that division.
But Masvidal's a more technical boxer.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I can see Cerrone getting knocked out here.
Somebody in chat is saying that Perry's also choked a bunch of times. Look, I think he's lost. Has he lost 3 in a row now? Is that what we're up to? He lost to.
No, he beat Paul Felder.
Yeah,
that's right.
Paul Felder.
Right. So, but he lost to Alan Joban. Guy with 0 chin. That was a little bit younger Alan Joban, and he just never touched him the whole fight. Joban.
I think it's a good fight to target.
Right.
For sure.
Joban stayed away. Max Griffin, same thing, stayed away. If Cerrone fights smart, he can win. He absolutely can. As Marco saying this in chat, it's possible. I think they're going to stand and trade. And Cerrone has problems when he gets pressured. I don't think he's going to be able to circle off like those guys. I just don't.
Cerrone, there's a lot of possibilities in your lineup construction if you play Cerrone, though.
Cerrone's path to victory is the grappling, which
you could play both Barber and Ramos in a lineup if you use Cerrone and do it the right way.
Interesting. All right, we're going a little long. Let's talk about the main event. Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung, 8,500, taking on Yair Pantera, not Pantoja, Rodríguez at 7,700. Some line value. Yair is now the favorite. Let's pick him in a lot of books. I'm looking at 5 dimes. He's a small favorite, -108 to -102, so really tight. I like Yair to win. They're going to stand and trade. Chan Sung Jung is never in a boring fight. It seems like stand and trade with Yair. I think that spells problems. 5 rounds to work with. Obviously, for me, the stack is in play on DraftKings. A lot of possibilities open up with salary for Yair. Give me Yair Rodríguez to land a knockout here. There's a lot of narrative on both sides, which, you know what? Instead of going over, I'll just let Joe go over the narrative. Joe, what do you got for both?
Yeah, so, we've got a knee injury. I don't know that we know exactly which knee that the Korean Zombie has hurt. Large amount. I'm pretty sure knee too. A large amount of inactivity, like one fight in what, 4 years.
The last fight was the Bermudez knockout.
Right. But before that, he had military service.
Right.
So it's there. Look, I'm going to go with the younger guy. Who I hope has been using his downtime to get better. And one thing that Yair can do is kick. So I think if he can find that knee, whichever one that might be, he could. Even Bermudez was getting off on the Zombie. He just doesn't hit hard enough. Okay. But he was getting off on him. And this is, by the way, is the 3rd leg of my 3-leg parlay is Yair Rodríguez here. So that's obviously my pick. Interesting, opens up some possibilities on DraftKings at his price point. And this is again, true line value with the line having flipped. So there's definitely some lineups that you could build around Yair if you really like him. I think it's a decent fight to target. I'm not playing cash this week, so I will not comment on the stackability of this fight, but I will probably have a few shares of the Korean Zombie, but based on my early lineup constructions, I will have far more shares of Yair Rodríguez.
Chris.
Yeah, I get the trepidation around Korean Zombie. Obviously, you guys mentioned it, the injury and then the service spot before that. But he does something that is very good for beating fighters like Yair Rodríguez. Nonstop pressure, constant pressure, always in his face. Can't get off those kicks if Korean Zombie's doing that. I would also say that saying that he got tagged up in the Dennis Bermudez fight is true, but I don't think it applies here because Bermudez is a way better boxer than Yair Rodríguez is. I don't think Yair Rodríguez is a counter puncher. I think he actually was showing a little bit of it in that Frankie Edgar fight for as long as it did stay on the feet. So maybe he's getting better at it, maybe, but I don't know. If Jung does what he always does, I have a hard time thinking that Yair's just going to land a jump knee or something and put him to bed with it. We saw him take a bunch of hard shots from Bermudez, hence the nickname. I understand everybody's trepidations, as I said, but I'm going Jung here.
Okay.
Yeah, some people are saying he's live. Absolutely. I do think he's live. He will be lower owned. Totally in play. All right, a bit of a long episode, but let's still do our hot takes. Guys, what do you got? What's a hot take for UFC Denver? Anyone got anything queued up?
No.
I mean, Amanda Bobby Cooper wins by first round clean knockout.
I mean, I could pretty much pick. I got my pick of the litter here because I picked so many dogs. Let me did you? Well, I give dogs a chance to win. I'll say that much. But all right, let me see here. I'll take Trizano to get a finish over Peña. Catch him with one of those overhands.
Jesus. Okay, that's a pretty hot take. Joe, you got one?
Not yet. Go ahead. You go.
God, I'm still scrolling here too. Let's go with. All right, I'll just go. Give me Raquel Pennington to win by rear naked choke.
All right.
Okay. A female fighter will be on the optimal lineup for mass entry GPP.
Got You had 3 women's fights. I don't know how hot that is, Joe.
Okay. Let me back up then. Yeah. Well.
If you're going to tell me one of the favorites is on the optimal lineup, I'll give you that.
Okay, no, let's do my upset then. My upset is going to be Devonte Smith gets finished late.
Oh,
holy crap!
Wow,
that's much. You just picked Julian, Juicy J, Erosa.
It's not impossible. It's not impossible.
Late.
He could fade in Denver. It's not impossible, but it's definitely a hot take. Guys, thank you for watching, listening. Make sure and like, subscribe, follow all of us on Twitter. Go to rotowire.com/free 10-day free trial to all their premium content. No credit card required. Leave us some comments. Hit us up on Twitter. I love talking fights with you guys. And by the way, I got to give a quick shout out to whoever, I think the name is John Church on Twitter, who is with us, behind us, harassing Jake Latarski and everyone else who's at RotoWire.
Yes.
And Sirius in general. So, John, keep up the good work. Anyone else want to join in? We should be on Sirius. Let's go. That is the ultimate mission. Going to slowly crawl up these YouTube views. Send this video to 2 friends, and they send it to 2 friends, and they send it to 2 friends. And meanwhile, Joe is taking down the big GPP for DraftKings. And if it's not him, and it's not me, and it's not Chris, I hope it's one of you guys.
I was close last week. I had that sweat going into the final fight, sitting in first place. I know it sucked.
We're going to take one of these down this year, and I'm still waiting on the guy who won last week to send us the screenshot. So please DM me that if you're listening. We'll wrap this up though. Guys, this was fun as always. Have a good week. Enjoy the fights. See you next week.
Later.